The Buzz with Jess Lujan.
We're back with Sabina and Kelly, and we're doing an update, of course, for the folks at the Pratey Latecjan. Before we went on the break, we're talking about maybe the federal government's argument in the sense that that area is basically deteriorating already, whether it's through natural causes or whatever environment, and so it's probably best to put in a repository because now you have experts that would make sure they dust it and we maintain it, right?
I'm so glad you mentioned that because I've been working on a set of issues where they're statements that the Department of Defense has made, and when we're talking about federal officials, I really expect them to be straightforward.
Sure.
That they need to give us the facts, the good and the bad, the pros and the cons, as you were seeing earlier, and then we, the public, can feel informed.
Sure.
We've been given the straight talk and so forth, but what we're really finding is that we're getting partial information and only the positive. And so with that, there's the statement about it will unlock funds. As you said, they've mentioned the degrading of that area, but the implications are when they say that is that there hasn't been active management. Now, they don't say that, but the implication is there. And so really, for this area, there has been active management. Like I said, millions of tax-paying dollars have gone into that area. It is considered thriving. The species, they're native, they're endangered, they're threatened. They're some of our very last few, the ones that we really care about and make our island special. They are thriving there. So in my talking to scientists, in my talking to environmental experts that have at some time worked there in the past, whether it was years ago or decades ago or just recently, they're finding that these species are still doing well. And they at least some of them are refuting that it's going to degrade to the point that it's not going to be habitable.
So it'll be different then, basically. It's different if there's signs of them being extinct based on just, I guess, its natural environment. And maybe, we can put a repository, whatever it may be. So there are no signs then of them losing life, but basically on where they're at this point, right? That's what you're saying.
It seems to be this special niche where they are doing well. Even the limestone is maybe craggy enough that it's keeping out the pigs and the deer. So there are little things like that have been working in their favor. When it comes down to certain features, I mean, the insect infestation or things like that, there may be issues that they deal with like the rest of the island deals with, but overall, it's a healthy, thriving
environment at this point. So you updated in this because I know you've met with the governor, and so where are we at? Because I'm sure a month from now we're going to have an update again.
So the first time we met with the governor was before we spoke with you, and then we met with him just recently last week, and so he basically reiterated that he's been focusing on the H-2B visa problem. And then he was looking at the sewage, but we asked him if he can make a statement in support of our cause, and he said he would look at all the information and make his decision. And so
look at all the information you're providing alongside what the military is providing?
Yes, that's correct. Okay. And so we made all our all the reasons, the water lens, contamination of our water lens every year with 6.7 million bullets. The endangered species, which are on the brink of extinction, are highly dense cultural sites in this area. And the traditional practitioners, but basically will lack access 9 months out of the year to the Amut and also our fishermen. So it really restricts the practice of our culture. So we made all these arguments with him, and some things you cannot quantify, like the spirituality. So we hope that he comes to a decision in favor of Pratey Latecjan's cause, and we're supposed to meet with him in about a week. Again, and hopefully we can find, he can do something definitively. And really this time is crucial because the firing range they're still going ahead, the military is still going ahead, despite the outcry from the public. And it's scheduled to be built in late January, early February. And so we rely on our politicians currently to take a definitive step to put a pause on the firing range, because the Marines are not coming here till 8 years from now.
Sure.
It just makes sense. Let's put a
Well,
pause
and
on this.
not only makes sense, you know, somebody had pointed out to me, and it gets back to that it not being a good faith effort, that really it doesn't take that long to build a firing range or a set of firing ranges, even though these are large and so forth. And they're not coming for 8 years, maybe even longer. But it appeared to some people that the military is trying to beat the clock with the court case, and that is really egregious. We're talking about part of the culture, we're talking about sacred areas, we're talking about a thriving conservation area. And so to push forward when the people have been outcrying about this, when all of this is at stake, when their own reports say it's the most harmful choice, and there's nothing in the legal processes at this point that stop them from choosing the most harmful option. But to push forward while this court case is active is really egregious.
Now, let me ask, because you were quoting, of course, that there's a resolution in support of a pause, okay, a pause. But there's another resolution out as well. Now, I have not read the most recent resolution that was put out in regards in support of the military's efforts. Now, I'm sure that's in support of their efforts to be inclusive of the firing range. Now, if the senators vote on that, and I don't think the senators are saying put a pause because we're in disagreement of the military buildup. They're saying put a pause. Let's make sure that we dot our I's and cross our T's, make sure everything is done right. But again, I've got to say, I have not read the resolution, but is the resolution counter to that other resolution, and wouldn't that, and if it is, wouldn't that resolution be used against that previous resolution in an argument?
Yeah, in the way that it's written, there, I would say, are definitely issues. It does muddy the waters, and that's a problem. You know, local leaders, their first priority is supposed to be about protecting our population, our culture, our resources, our fresh water, our safety, our health. And so really that should be the focus of where our local leaders are at. And in the way that it's written, that gets muddy.
And that's what I'm saying. And I guess this comes down to the 15 senators are not communicating with each other, that one may counter the other or muddy a previous resolution, and it could be used against you. Again, you know. Yeah.
And as you said, there's nothing in the previous resolution that says anything negative. It just says, as you mentioned, let's dot our I's, let's cross our T's, and let's care and protect about what we have.
Yeah, I think also the bigger issue is about human rights for Chamorros and self-determination. And so, no matter where you stand on the issue, whether you're for the buildup or not, I feel that the legislature should not support this resolution. This is my personal view, that it should
the latest resolution.
Yeah, the latest resolution, not support this resolution because it muddies up the issues about our human rights to self-determination, which states that the U.S. Government, who put us on this list of non-self-governing territories, is our administering power, which means they're going to see us through decolonization, see us through a plebiscite vote. And the three choices, as you know, is statehood, free association, and independence. And so one of the things of the latest resolution at the UN level states that militarization actually is an impediment and of the human rights of self-determination. So to make a policy statement at the legislative level, I feel muddies up this issue. So whether you believe in militarization or not, build-up or not, I feel that it's not helpful in this regard.
And I go back to this, even of our conversation on radio, Kelly, when I had you on with also former Senator Hope Cristobal, we were talking about the one Guam. I mean, we hear that all the time, but really our actions, and again, even in resolutions, that we're really not a one Guam. I mean, that is the word out there. I mean, leaders talk about it, even the military leaders talking about a one Guam, but we really we're not.
Yeah, I think what you're seeing is an important moment in our history because people are now becoming more aware and critical of the influence of the military.
Sure.
And so you're not going to get a one united approach. But I think as more people hear the history, hear this, the impacts of militarization on our island, you're going to find more people critiquing militarization. And it's not against anybody in the military. My uncle served in the military. He was at Pearl Harbor when it was bombed, and so he suffered, physical as well as psychological damage. And of course, he did not get the help that he needed afterwards. It was a local people that supported him throughout the rest of his life. And so, experiences like that, cause people to think about, what is our role? And people join the military because they're doing it for their families. They're doing it possibly for they believe in America, and the America that is for democracy and for
the foundation,
and and for free speech and hopefully listening to the voice of the people and making that part of their policy, incorporating that into their policy. So. There's so many things to discuss. There's not just an either or type dichotomy.
That's true. It creates a false binary dichotomy there of it's either one or the other, and it's complex. It's multi-layered. We all have members of our family that are in the military. I served in ROTC at the University of Guam, as I was mentioning to you when we were on break. So it's not about the dichotomy. It's about it's not at any cost, and it's about being accountable. We would hold, we're each held accountable every day to the speeding laws, and it's not because the police officers hate us or the senators that put that speeding law in place hate us. It's because they're looking out for the good of all of us.
It's the greater good.
And then what I also add is that when you think about the buildup, there's not much talk about what are they going to do after the buildup. The